Good morning, everybody. Welcome to Theraexpressions Meditation in Casper, Wyoming, where I, Jemima Godsall, am ambassador for their mental health center. And this is my beautiful co-host, Darcy Marta, who joins us every week to discuss topics surrounding mental health. We are here just to normalize, as I said, normalize the topics surrounding any mental health issues. Just trying to make this conversation about things that people deal with, mainly ourselves. We use ourselves as examples, mainly me and Darcy. Darcy is the wonderful input in terms of, I don't know, just her amazing wisdom and own experience, and just so we bounce off each other quite well. So we're here to just discuss things. But this week we have a guest. We've had quite a few guests at the beginning when we started this channel, but it's sometimes hard to get people to talk openly about their mental health issues. Right. So that's what we found quite interesting. You know, people say, yeah, sure, I'll come. And then they're like, oh, no, which is fair enough. Anyone who's watching this who has done that, no bad. It is challenging because you think, oh my God, I'm going to tell everyone my darkest secrets. And they really shouldn't be the darkest secrets. They're normal, and it's okay to feel how you're feeling. Like, that's what we're just trying to make sure you know, that you're okay no matter what you're going through. It's okay. Before we get started, too, guys, I have to say there is a disclaimer down below, and also there is a fabulous number in America, 988, if you have any mental health issues or suicide prevention. You can use that for suicide prevention phone calls. That's for you if you're suffering, or if you know of anyone suffering and you are not so sure what to do, please ring 988. Very simple number to remember now. It's awesome. Okay, so Das, hello, how are you doing?
I'm good. I had a crazy busy week. I'm exhausted. I kickstarted my own personal practice again. You know, it kind of goes like that for me. Sometimes my world just gets too busy and my practice wanes, and now it's back again, and that's a good thing.
Beautiful. And people will notice that you got your haircut. Looks fantastic.
Well, you know, when you go through those dips, when you go through those energetic and emotional dips, and when things are very chaotic, sometimes it's really good to cut your hair, get rid of that dead energy that's been storing all that mental blah blah processing, and just yuck it off and start over. And that's what I did.
You look amazing. Looks fantastic. You hold it well.
I really feel so much better to release that. I have to close the window because our blower is back.
Okay, sure. We can't hear over here, but yeah, sure. I'll just introduce. This is Johnny Lawrence. I met him last weekend at a ceremony I went to, a spiritual ceremony, plant medicine ceremony, which we'll go into another time. And we get people that get connected very intimately, very quickly, because we're there to heal ourselves in certain deep ways. And he just, Darcy, he told me about wanting to write a book, and about his experience. And I too am wanting to write a book, and I have my name of it and everything. It's a really cool name, but anyway, I'll go into that later. But we got connected that way, and how he was afraid to sort of tell his story, and he's got to start to get to the balls, dare I say, to talk about his story openly. He can say it, and he said, I can say it really comfortably in groups of healing, again, such as the ceremony group, because we're all here for the same thing. But saying it to a bunch of, I think he wants to work with teenagers, saying it to a bunch of teenagers and not editing it, but also knowing they're teenagers, all this sort of stuff. It was really quite interesting, because I understand, but I'm just wanting to just open my mouth now. But it is a little daunting at first, because people don't know how to deal with it. Some people feel like they need to rescue you. Other people feel it's offensive because they're not able to hear it themselves. And so there's so many things surrounding vulnerability when it comes to being open. I'll let you tell him his story, because I too don't know much of his story, because we just got to know a little bit about each other. And then I just went, this is your chance to just maybe kickstart your open your path to telling your story. Yeah. So isn't that exciting? I love having guests.
I do too. I love it that people want to come in and share what's going on with them, because we learn from them. And then, you know, the more they get used to talking about their stuff, the more comfortable they get with themselves. But hopefully somebody who's watching today or listening today will, you know, get a good takeaway about what they are going through. So,
exactly.
I really am happy to meet your friend.
Okay, so his name's Johnny Lawrence. Actually, I only got to know his first name this morning. That's how much I don't know him, which is wonderful. I just find it exciting, because like these people, we're all just new to each other, and they've got the balls, and I keep saying balls, I'm just because good word, to come and be open and honest. And we can all do this, guys. We don't have to obviously tell everyone the darkest, deepest tales, but it's just good to know that we're never alone, that we can't, people do, as Darcy said, people do want to hear stories, because then you're never alone. And there may be that one person out there who feels completely isolated, who maybe they're calling grace. Does that make sense? Is that right word?
Absolutely. And this might be the thing that says, oh, that person sounds like me.
Exactly.
Oh, okay, I'm not as much as a screw up as I thought I was. Look, other people,
Exactly.
right? Other people are going through what I go through. It's just a nice feeling to know that, and to have empathy for another human being.
Sure.
To make sure that we stay connected to our empathy, our compassion, and not always living in our judgment place. That social media judgment place that says, oh, is that person, cool enough, or smart enough, or are they beautiful enough, or whatever. And it takes we're always judging, and we're not really being with each other. So.
And imperfections are just the most beautiful part about human beings. That's the most beautiful part about humans. Yeah, uniqueness. Johnny Lawrence has a bit of an accent. He's from the South. He's very cute. So I'm just saying, I know my accent is pretty harsh too, but I was loving his accent going, yes.
I was going to just say something, I'm sorry, before we go to Johnny. That's a word I like to get rid of out of our vocabulary, is imperfections. I think we should erase that word from our vocabulary. There's no such thing as an imperfection, because that denotes then that there is a perfection, which there isn't. So if you say, we're great with our imperfections, that's saying, well, we could have potentially been perfect, but we're not. But we couldn't, because there's no such thing as perfection. So I like to say it's our uniqueness.
I like their uniqueness. Yeah, I guess that's what, in terms of the general public.
Yes, exactly right.
The average, not the general. The average public tend to categorize things like that. So that's why I think I use that label. But I much prefer uniqueness. That's beautiful. Beautiful.
Yeah. So let's erase that word from our vocabulary today. No such thing as an imperfection.
Unique. We're all unique. I like, and it makes you feel like, oh yes, I am.
And it's true.
Imperfect makes me go, oh my god, my eyes. Okay, we could chat all day. Here comes Johnny. Oh no, that's terrible. So that's from what is it? That's from Okay, anyway, we'll go there another time. Sorry, people, distracted. Okay, my loves, let's go. Here we go. I'll meet him. And here comes Johnny. Hang on, let me.
Here we are.
Yes, here we go. Hi, Johnny. Are you there, my love?
I am. Oh,
hi.
Me figure out my camera here. Okay. All
right. Hi, good to see you, my love.
Good to see you all. Thanks for having me on here. Love the buffalo drum in the background.
And thank you, yeah. And Johnny, this is Darcy. Darcy, this is Johnny.
Hi, Darcy. How are you doing this morning?
Good. Nice to meet you.
Nice to meet you as well.
So, Johnny, we're talking about our traumas to triumphs generally on this channel. And I did ask you last week to come and talk because you were wanting to write a book, and we're finding it a little bit challenging opening up your voice to the general masses. Welcome. Here you go. Here's your first chance.
Absolutely. Yeah, I'm in the heart of it. I'm probably about maybe 30% done with the book, and I'm just writing. I'm just putting my heart on paper. My journey, so it's been a really exciting step in calling for me.
Okay, and what can you tell us a bit about your journey? What brought you to this book, deciding to write a book? I know it's a loaded question, but sort of as much as you can do in a short amount of time you've got.
Sure, absolutely. My journey, I have the common story that we hear a lot today is a tough childhood. Back in the day, from my teenage days, that really kind of followed me into my early adulthood. So I see a big epidemic in young men, teenage, from junior high to high school, that there's so much pressure to be someone that society has kind of put the pressure on them to be someone, but they know in their heart it's just not who I'm supposed to be. I feel like I'm I'm called to be my own authentic self. And it's really tough to kind of break that mold from the pressure. And that kind of really explained my childhood.
Okay.
So my goal of the book and what has really called me to do it is to help as many young men not to have to follow that path into their early childhood. In their early adulthood. So, I feel that our story is meant to be shared. We're not living trouble to triumph just to keep that story to ourselves, and it's meant to be shared. And I think that's all of our calling.
Yeah, of course. How are you planning to ignite this awareness within the young gentleman?
So I'm actually friends with a girl who used to be the executive director with the Dr. Gearian Institute, who is one of the world-renowned psychologists for young men. And there's a great book that he wrote called Saving Our Sons. And it's very eye-opening to the mindset that's in young men in this generation. So that is, a lot of studies and research that's kind of behind it. But how I plan to reach them is through a friend of mine has access to all the school systems. She used to be a school administrator for 25 years. So the idea of the book is to implement a community within the younger generation and do courses, 8-week studies, and basically call it Band of Brothers. These kids don't have these sharing circles that our community is really benefits from along our journey. So I really want to create a container and a safe space for all these young men to kind of get to understand the same struggles and how we want to kind of proceed. So I really want to find some young pioneers that want to really buy into the Band of Brotherhood and bring that to the school system.
Fantastic.
Can I ask you a question? Can you give me a little understanding of what you feel the mindset is right now for young men, and what you feel where young men are limited or being discounted, or can you elaborate on that a little bit?
I believe it's a big identity crisis. I think we all experience that at a young age, but there is even adult men, there is such a pressure to be what manhood looks like. And it's, you don't share your feelings, that's weak. These young men just have this, society is really planted on who they're supposed to be. If they struggle, don't talk about it, don't cry, and that's a way of, if I can just be strong and not share my feelings and my trauma, then that makes me a man. And I think even so, there's a difference and there's a misconception of what authentic manhood is. And I believe sharing and be on a journey, ask for help, things of that nature, that takes strength. Not holding these traumas and tough times inside is weakness versus sharing is strength.
Can you tell us a little bit then about your story, just as much as you can? Maybe the most recent part that you told me at ceremony, maybe the most recent part of how you got to that awareness.
Yeah, absolutely. I would say my journey kind of made a shift probably in my early 30s. My background is exactly what I just described, is an identity crisis growing up in a home with, I had both of my parents at home. Although it was still, the love that I was showed it was still in a toxic environment. There were things outside the home that obviously contributed to it. But, I kind of describe my early years as being on a roller coaster in a hurricane, or 200 miles an hour with no steering wheel. So I was on a destructive path and I didn't realize, I thought that how I expressed it and how I kind of channeled my anger into mischief, getting in trouble, even experimenting with drugs as I was younger. So that's kind of my upbringing. It was really an identity crisis. I was very small, skinny, got picked on a lot, nicknames. So we really don't realize how some of those really small, minute moments can have a big effect going way into adulthood. So when I realized that, my journey took a catalyst when I was desperate. And sometimes it takes a desperation to wake someone up and go, you know what? I want to show up for myself and I want to get on the right path. And so I want to describe my mindset younger is I had a very rigid mindset. My rigid mindset is this is just the way it's going to be. I'm always going to be making mistakes. I'm always either going to feel this hopelessness. And I really implanted it that this is just the way it's going to be and I need to accept it. So one of the biggest small comments that someone said to me at one point is create doubt. Every time you say my life is just going to be this bad, I'm always going to be lonely, no one's ever going to love me, you're planning a very rigid mindset, but just telling yourself, well, maybe it's not. And there's something in that little quote that can totally change the course and give you a little bit of control of your journey. And that was really kind of the catalyst. Those two words was kind of a catalyst in me just taking a different path of self-care and wanting to understand and go deep within myself to discover the things that I need to learn in lessons and a lot of the things I need to open up and peel back and make corrections. And basically just, that's where I really started to want to get to know myself. And the journey wasn't over. It was still long. And it always still is with every one of us.
Forever, isn't
it? A little bit of my history.
Do you feel like you were bullied quite a bit as a younger person?
I was. When I went into high school, I was about 5'7", about 100 pounds. And so,
wow.
Although it was really cool to have nicknames, but it was like I didn't realize inside that it was affecting me long term. So I was picked on. I was called the skinny kid, and as much as I tried to put on weight, I couldn't, and it was because I was just so active. But it was a lot of bullying, and I didn't physically feel that I could stand up for myself, but it just made me feel that less worth of capability.
And can I ask you what inspired you to take a positive path rather than a negative path? Because listening to you and you're talking about your identity crisis and your masculinity is being attacked, by saying you're the skinny kid, the little guy, that really attacks your masculinity, right? And that attacks your identity in that space. As a young man growing up, where is my masculinity? So I can understand that when young men go through that kind of masculinity identity issue, that they become violent, and people are wondering why there's all this violence committed by these young men. So my question to you is, what do you feel set you on a more positive exploration rather than a negative exploration? You had a choice of going, I'm assuming, with being depressed into self-harm or harming others, and yet you went into a positive direction. So what happened? What assisted you or showed you that path?
So there was a very traumatic season in my life where I went through a very bad breakup with a girlfriend, and I have a very strong sense of abandonment. So I latched on to this is my only identity. And so there was a point in time that I sat in Walmart parking lot and I said, I want to go in and buy some rope, to be quite honest. I was very distraught. My emotions were at an all-time high. That was the only time I really thought about a plan, that rigid mindset that my life isn't going to be good. It's just not going to happen. And I didn't have that quote of great doubt. So I actually called my sister, and just emotions were, I couldn't contain my, just emotions. And my sister said, go to the airport. There's a plane ticket waiting. So I flew to Florida and I stayed there for 3 weeks. And she's my best friend. She's always been my rock. So that was a change. And she's in medical profession. She goes, when you get back, I need you to go get help. I need you to seek something. I need you to talk. So that was really a turning point. And that was what I talk about. It wasn't, and I was just inspired to make a change. I was desperate and I had to.
Yeah.
So that was the turning point.
Wow, bless your sister too, hey?
Yeah. You're
Bond
so
between you and your sister.
fortunate.
Yeah.
But to touch on the comment about the anger and the violence, this goes back to young men that just bottle it up.
Yes.
They bottle it up and they're not supposed to talk about it. That's where I'm strong if I just keep it all in and just maintain this identity of strength. It packs so tight. And I kind of refer to it as a big bubble. Is the more it blows up, the more you hold. If you pop it, it explodes. Now, if you have a bubble that just slowly starts to blow up and you identify it then letting that air out is just a little bit versus allowing it just to build up. But it comes out in so many different ways that a young man feels the reason for this explosion is for something totally different.
Right.
Obviously, in our adulthood, we discover, a lot of reasons. Here's why. And it had nothing to do what I felt was the reason back then.
Of course, yeah. With your band of brothers, how are you going to take on this project? Like, what's your objective? I mean, I'm sorry, I understand your objective, but what is your plan on, like, how do you bring these brothers in and what will you do with them?
So I'm actually launching a kind of a consulting service with parents and being just a guy. And where these parents, can go, you know what, my son just needs a man to talk to, needs someone just to listen. And so a friend of mine, she stated that some of these parents are desperate to get him in to see a doctor, a therapist, or 2 months out. They don't have 2 months.
Yeah.
They need somebody tomorrow that they can call and go in and just go, hey, man, I'm just a guy. I'm just a guy who's lived a journey. It wasn't easy. I don't know your circumstances, but I know the feelings of hopelessness and loneliness and that rigid mindset. And so I don't want to call it a life coach. I want to be more of a mindset coach to be able to kind of make that shift and put them on the right direction. So, however, a friend of mine, she is on a committee with the state. She's a really big advocate for teens. And she's, she told me, she goes, I have access to all the schools, all the administrators. So I want to find these young men in their school system to kind of kick off the program in their specific school. And more of, I would love to eventually they all, get their t-shirts. They get to walk down the hallways and another student goes, whoa, what is that Band of Brothers t-shirt? What is that about? And they all want to follow the next thing. So I want these young men to be ambassadors to recruit other young men where they can come in and go, wait a minute, there is a safe space. We can all talk about this. But more importantly, a young man can come into a room with other young men and they're opening up. And all of a sudden they realize, wait a minute, everybody's like me. They all go through the same thing. It's not just me. And there's a really big shift in that mindset and powerfulness that when you realize that you're not the only one. Yeah. So that's kind of the motive, and it's going to be a slow process, but I'm not going to put a limit on it. I'm going to let it all unfold and come to me and put my heart and soul into it and let it just take its course, and hopefully we'll make a really big impact across the country.
Yeah, it sounds amazing. And do you have any tools or techniques for this mindset that you're talking about? I know we can talk about the mindset, and like you said, those 2 words of the changing the shift can shift you completely. But are there any extra tools or anything that you're thinking of bringing into the Band of Brothers that you would introduce to them as healing tools?
Well, it's funny you say that. For my curriculum for the Band of Brothers is my book. Mm-hmm. So it's interesting as I start to kind of dissect and all the chapters that I want to write, will be each week's course that we want to address this week.
Oh, wow.
However, we know
Awesome.
as adults that breath work, meditation, yoga, for that matter, can make a really big impact. Always having a book you're reading, never have a gap. As soon as you finish one, find that next one that's empowering and show up for yourself. So I would like to work with, find yoga studios, meditation studios that can basically be a part of it, donate their time, and have a weekly, event, whether it's yoga in the park. So how many young men will hear, hey, breath work is great? How many are going to go, what is that? I don't get it. How's that going to help me? So if I can actually introduce and get some younger men really interested in a lot of these natural modalities that we use as adults, hopefully that will really put them on a, understanding of what, how to take control or take care of your mind, show yourself some self-love. That could be fun. So that's one tool that I'm going to implement and hope to kind of create a little bit of a buzz around.
It's powerful stuff. What a great project, Johnny. Seriously, that's so inspirational. I'm so proud of you.
Thank you.
Awesome.
And it's really beautiful to keep that focus in mind to help our teens and our youth. It's with social media now also, they're even more bombarded than even the the traditional bullying.
Mm-hmm.
Now they've got it from all sides. So if you have a disruptive home and then you have whatever bullying going on at school, then you've also got it online, and it's just continuous. And so having safe spaces and people who have a child's best interest at heart rather than a dogma or that kind of business is really beautiful, really important too.
I do. And then when you mentioned social media, I just attended a screening and a Q&A with a screening with a documentary called Childhood 2.0. And the basis was around bullying and social media, that when we grew up, bullying could have been one-on-one or two other people standing around.
Right.
Now bullying is broadcasted on social media for the whole school, everyone to see.
Yes.
It has a really larger effect on a kid than it does when I was in school.
Oh, absolutely. I mean, we've kind of gone over the top with it.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, totally.
I had a family member who was a bully, and then when we really, as I got older and I could confront them, she tried to go into my social media and put the wrong things out there, and I had to tell her, this will end up as a lawsuit because I'm an adult. But
Right.
Can you imagine if I was a kid and that happened? It would have been, just devastating.
Devastating, yeah.
Right.
Where are you located where are you starting to, where would you like to start to do this project of yours, a specific location? I know you want to go state and then every state and then worldwide and then everything, but
Right.
Where are you going to start the project?
I'm gonna start right in my backyard. And a friend of mine that I had lunch with, what kind of really kicked this off, is she told me, she goes, these parents and these kids need you. And it wasn't like, you do good. They go, they need you. And she goes, over the past 2 months, there have been 5 teenagers in this county or this school system commit suicide.
Oh my gosh. What can you disclose what county you're in? Would you mind, Johnny?
It's actually in the Chandler, Gilbert, Arizona area. So
Okay.
it wasn't just a subtle request. She goes, someone needs to start a revolution.
Yeah.
Nice. And you're going to do that.
It wasn't just some small request. And so it really spoke to my heart, because I've always wanted to kind of do something along these lines, that I don't want the younger generation to go through what I did.
Right.
So this was the big eye-opening experience, and we crossed paths for a reason. That's where I want to start, right here in the backyard, because it's there's a really epidemic in suicide in young men around the country, but right here in my own backyard.
That's
Beautiful.
great.
Beautiful, Johnny. Das, do you have any more questions for Johnny? Because we might wrap it up here, if that's okay. Johnny, yeah, please.
I would say, Johnny, do you have a question for us?
Well, yeah, I would love to continue to kind of connect and see how I can help you guys and kind of really use each other as a resource, since obviously we feel the same calling. So I would love to get to know your association more and everything, so we can continue to use each other resource and make an impact together.
Great.
Yeah, you're here. Yep, that's what we're all here for, is to help each other, to help others, to help themselves, to help others, and it goes on and on and on. It's fantastic. And normalizing this conversation. That Darcy's and my whole point here is just to normalize the conversation around mental health topics. And it is as you were saying too, Johnny, after you open your mouth, it lets go of so much stress of the problem. And because otherwise, especially with gentlemen, as you were saying, they bottle it up and then something becomes a big balloon and then it bursts and who knows what happens. Right. But this having to talk about it, you realize you offload maybe 50% of the problem half the time. Maybe not sometimes, but majority of the time, just opening your mouth does help heal so much more than not opening your mouth. That's what we're trying to do here. So what an honor it is to meet you, Johnny. Yay, Band of Brothers.
So let me tell you, excuse me, I don't know, I'm coughing today. So yes, I'm happy to talk to you anytime about what I do. I'm a hypnotherapist, and a social counselor and a spiritual counselor. And my company is called Frame of Mind Hypnotherapy. I do restorative hypnosis. And so speaking of stigma, sometimes people get afraid of the word hypnosis or hypnotherapy, but there's nothing to be afraid of.
Absolutely.
Right. So I did pull a card for you while you were talking.
We always do a tarot card or a spiritual card at the end of these, Johnny. So here you go. You're lucky today.
I'm ready.
Okay. So I pulled, or rather the Psychic Tarot deck by John Holland. This is who we're using, John Holland's deck.
Okay.
And I pulled number 3, partnerships and alliances.
Oh, you cannot make that up.
All right, absolutely.
That's fantastic.
So that's the one that fell out for you today. I didn't pull it, it fell out. Okay.
Beautiful.
So partnerships and alliances. How beautiful is that?
Absolutely.
So the meaning of this card denotes that you're now starting to see the fruits of your labor take seed and blossom. There may still be a lot to do, but watch out for synchronicities, which could bring opportunities to form connections or unexpected alliances that may create something new. These could assist you in gathering resources for future projects. How strange. Just kidding.
I don't have coincidence.
With all partnerships, always remember that there has to be an even exchange of energy. If you give too much, whereas if your partner gives too little, it will leave you feeling energetically drained and cause potential disharmony in your union. There must be overall balance within the alliance in order for it to work and blend together for optimum results. This card reminds you that success comes in many forms, even from the most unlikely sources. Have an open mind when listening to others, which is what path it sounds like you are on. And it's just nice to get that reinforcement that you are on the right path. Right?
I just got major goosebumps, guys.
Absolutely. That's beautiful.
Yeah, it's really
Isn't that beautiful? There is no such thing as coincidence. And every week, Johnny, we pull a card and it's somehow ironically related to exactly what we're talking about. So we are connected. We're all connected. Johnny, thank you so much for coming today. You're amazing. We are looking forward to seeing the development of Band of Brothers. What an inspiration. What a project you're on. And men are just, gentlemen, young boys are all just going to get such benefit from this. And it's wonderful, wonderful. I'm so proud of you. What a great honor it was to meet you. And thanks for showing up today. You're amazing.
Absolutely. Thank you both for having me on. It was a pleasure. Looking forward to speaking with you guys in the future.
For sure, for sure. Darcy, thank you, my love. Thank you, thank you, thank you. Everyone out there, take care of yourselves. Peace and love. Don't forget to like, share, subscribe, and we'll see you next Sunday. Mwah. Bye, everyone. Take care. Bye-bye. Yeah.